Hi, good morning. This is Suzanne Seeley with Suzanne Snips, and I'm just about ready to head out for the National Museum for Women in the Arts, the only museum dedicated entirely to women artists. It's pretty special, and in particular, I'm going to go see the artworks of Suzanne Veladon, the French artist who was a muse of many artists. She was a mistress, she was tempestuous, she was groundbreaking, she was unorthodox. That's the woman I'm interested in. Let me tell you a little bit about Suzanne Veladon's life. She was fiery, she was feisty, she was passionate, she was fiercely independent, and she was talented too. She began teaching herself to draw as a little tiny girl living outside of Paris with her mother. Her mother was a seamstress, unmarried, so remember that point. They moved to Paris, and young Suzanne was put in a convent school, and then she had to leave the convent school at age 11. She sold vegetables, she made wreaths for funeral homes, she worked alongside her mother as a seamstress, many odds and end jobs. But then, as she roamed around Montmartre, she began to meet various different artists. And she joined the circus. So she becomes an acrobat in the circus. Now she gets to know Toulouse-Lautrec. She got to know Berthe Morisot. She got to know many of the sort of bohemian Montmartre artists that were working during that time. She had an accident, fell off the trapeze, could no longer pursue her career in the circus. But what she did do is she began modeling for the artist at a very young age. Well, back in those days, it was sort of understood that if you were the model of a particular artist, like in her case, Renoir, Degas, Toulouse-Lautrec, Chauvan, all of them, you also slept with them. It was just understood. It turns out that she began to have an extended affair with Toulouse-Lautrec. He liked her because she was bohemian and wild. She worked in the circus, and she didn't mind his deformities. So the two of them had this passionate affair. Well, she also kind of liked the fact he was an aristocrat and had some money. And she and her mother were in kind of cahoots about that until one day, Toulouse-Lautrec's friend happened to overhear Suzanne and her mother in the kitchen talking about how Toulouse-Lautrec wouldn't go along with her schemes, and he told Toulouse-Lautrec, who then decided that was the end of her. Okay, now she's kind of out on her own. She winds up marrying, of all things, a stockbroker. But he was able to provide her with financial well-being. Well, many of the artists did not know, while she was acting as a model up in Montmartre, she was also studying what they were doing, their techniques, their colors, their styles, their subject matter. She was learning because, after all, ever since she was a little tiny girl, she had a passion for drawing. Now she begins to paint. Okay, now we're upstairs, and we are looking at one of Suzanne Veladon's paintings. She was particularly noted for her nudes, and the reason is men were painting women nude for a long time, as we all know, but women weren't painting other women nude. Yet she was, and they say that because she had been a model to so many famous artists and she had posed nude, she was and she was a female, of course, she was very comfortable with the female body. This wonderful painting by Suzanne Veladon was painted in 1921. It's called The Abandoned Doll. The subject matter is the transition of this young girl into adulthood. You can see her gazing away from her mother into the hand mirror, and that's symbolic of her passage as an adult. Just look at the strong lines, the great sense of form that she has, her bright colors. She's consistent throughout with all of her work. Although Suzanne Veladon was friends and knew many of the Impressionists and Expressionists working in Paris during the late 1800s, one artist she was particularly good friends with was Renoir. He bought her first painting, he encouraged her, he was her mentor, and he remained friends with her until the very end of his life. I think that's kind of interesting. He truly believed in her work. Oh yes, there is one more thing I have to tell you. I can't help it. I just think this woman is so utterly fascinating in the age of Victoria. Really. She was such a maverick. So independent and feisty. Anyway, it is said, and I think this is a joke, after she had her baby, she had to find the paternity. So she took the baby to the great Renoir and she showed him the baby. And Renoir said, "This cannot be my baby. The color is all wrong." So then she took the baby to Degas, and Degas looked at the baby and he said, "There is no way this is my baby. The form is awful." So in her desperation, she went to the great dignified Utrillo, the Spaniard, and she's telling him of her problem, and he said, "Do not worry, Suzanne, do not worry. I would be happy to put my name to anything the great Degas or Renoir did." And so the baby is now Maurice Utrillo. Thank you. This is Suzanne Seeley. Please like, subscribe, and pass along my blog.